Hello everybody and welcome. I mean, really? Hey everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meg and today we're going to be doing a basic makeup tutorial look for an everyday makeup look that you can wear going out to brunch or running out to the grocery store or just something simple that you'd like to wear hanging out with friends. So if you'd like to see how I got this look, keep on watching. Okay, first things first, let's talk about something that's super exciting. My Instagram handle for my makeup page has now reached 100 followers. So thank you to all of those of you who are currently following, and if you're not, you can go ahead and check out that handle right there, follow it on Instagram, and let's get started. Okay, so the first step that I always do is moisturize. So my favorite moisturizer right now is one that I've been using for a couple of months now, and I would swear by this product, and that is the Coors Wild Rose moisturizer. It's a 24-hour moisturizing and brightening cream. I absolutely love these products. So it looks like this inside the jar, and you really a little bit goes a long way. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply a really light layer. So I mostly try to focus it on the cheeks. I put barely any on my nose because, like I said, I've got super oily skin, so I don't really need that much there, and then a little bit across my forehead as well. Okay, so I usually give my moisturizer about 30 seconds to a minute to settle in and soak into my skin. So the next thing I'm gonna do is get the things that I need together so that I could do this quick, easy, everyday makeup look, and that means that I'm gonna start with gathering all my brushes. Just kidding, you're not gonna need that many brushes, you're only gonna use a few. Okay, so my next step I'm going to do is primer. So personally, I've got super oily skin, and I'm a big fan of the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. This doesn't have a really thick consistency to it, so it doesn't feel like it's clogging my pores, and a little goes a really long way. Just barely any. Like a pea size. And then I'm gonna dab this a few spots on my face and just a dot on my eyelid because you're gonna need that for later. So I'm just using 2 fingers and I'm barely pressing this into my face at all. We'll do the other side. Okay, primer's set, we're ready to go, we're ready to start with foundation. So one of my favorite things to use whenever I'm just trying to get going and get out the door is a BB cream, and that's the CoverGirl Clean Matte BB cream, and it's for oily skin. And I use the shade 510, which is fair, because I've got super fair skin. So let me introduce to you one of my best friends, and that would be the Beauty Blender. So if you haven't met the Beauty Blender before, you've probably seen it before. It's just it's the pink egg sponge. Anytime you're using a Beauty Blender, you wanna make sure that you've cleaned it, first of all. Don't be gross, clean out your sponges. You always wanna use your Beauty Blender when it's damp. Okay, so I'm gonna take my damp Beauty Blender and I'm just gonna put a little bit of that CoverGirl Clean Matte Foundation on what I refer to as the butt of the sponge. I'm also gonna stay away from the base of my eye because we're gonna hit that with a little bit of concealer in a minute here. So as you're going in, I'm just patting, I'm just dabbing. I'm not swiping this sponge around my face because all that's gonna do is move the product around your face a lot. Make sure that you get all the way up to your hairline. A little bit on the chin, up my nose, and up my forehead. And again, you're just dabbing it in. Blending it down into the neck. And again, really light pats. I'm also gonna tap this onto my earlobes as well, because nothing looks prettier than bright red ears when you've got a nice, clean, neutral skin tone. I haven't put this underneath my eyes, and I haven't put this on my eyelids, which you can probably tell based on the hyperpigmentation that's around my eyes. So we're gonna take care of that next. I also just picked up another concealer today, and that is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I've heard a lot of really good things about this concealer, and I got the shade 15 Fair, and then just a little doe foot applicator. So I'm gonna put that underneath my eyes, and it's got a nice creamy consistency to it, so you don't have to put a ton of product. You can just put some product. If you're like, girl, I got really dark under eye circles, I need to put a lot more concealer, you go ahead and you put a lot more concealer. I'm also gonna put a little bit of this on around the edges of my nose, down the bridge of my nose so that we can brighten that area up. And then just a little bit on the eyelids. All right, now that you look like a crazy person, get your Beauty Blender, and you're gonna use the pointy end of your Beauty Blender to blend all of this out. So again, it's just light tapping motions, and I'm gonna bring this up closer toward my under eye area. Bring it in towards the corner of your eye where there tends to be a lot of hyperpigmentation as well for most people. Now I am noticing that this concealer dries pretty quick, so I might have just done the under eyes and then made my way around to the other parts of the concealer so that it doesn't dry and make it harder for me to move the product around. And then same thing with just the little tip of the sponge, you're gonna blend out what you have on your eyelids. Okay, blending out. I like a bright under eye area because it helps me look more awake, especially if I haven't had a lot of sleep. So I love to set my face with Master Fix by Face Studio. It's another Maybelline product. So that product looks like this, Maybelline Master Fix, and it's just got a white powder consistency. So I'm gonna actually use my damp Beauty Blender that has now makeup all over it to set this makeup. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of powder, a little bit of product on the pointy end of the Beauty Blender, and then make a really cute face where you look down and it's almost like you're closing your eyes because I want the powder to go right underneath where I put that concealer. Just lightly tapping that in. So I'm gonna do that on both sides, just a little bit of product. And I'm just tapping this in so that it can set the concealer. So I'm gonna use a little bit underneath there, a little bit around my nose to set the concealer there. Get some powder in your eye, up the bridge of my nose where I put that concealer. And then I also like to put this, a little bit of powder, across my forehead because that's where I'm most oily. So that's gonna set that foundation and take some of the moisture out of the foundation so that it sets without making it oily and cakey looking. Now since you just put the primer and the concealer on your eyelids, you want to make sure to set that with a little bit of setting powder as well. So I'm just going to use the very tip and then close one eye and just slightly tap to get everything set. Now you've got nice neutral base on your eyes. Next, we're gonna use a pressed powder to set those areas on your face that you did not hit with the setting powder. So my favorite pressed powder right now is the Kat Von D Lock-It Powder. My shade is Light 45. It's a neutral light shade. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's obviously been well loved. And then there's a little sponge underneath. So what I like to use to put this powder on my face is a big fluffy brush. And this is the Sephora Flawless Light Powder Brush. It's a number 50. And it's got really soft synthetic bristles at the top. So I'm just gonna swirl this around, just a little bit of product, and then you can shake your hand or tap it to get the excess off. And I'm just gonna tap this on my face to set where we didn't put setting powder. Make sure that you run this down your neck to cover up or to set the foundation that's on your neck so everything blends together really well, and then make sure you also hit your ears since we put some foundation there as well. Okay, now that you've got your face all one color and you're like looking a little bit washed out, we're gonna add some warmth back in with some bronzer. My favorite bronzer right now is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and again, this is a very well-loved product. So the brush that I like to use is just a big fluffy brush. This brush doesn't have a name on it. It just came in a kit from a gift from someone a long time ago, but I really like this brush to just get inside the compact and I swirl it around. So you're gonna hit the top of your cheekbone and you wanna hit the point almost right above your ear. Like if you feel your cheekbone on your face, you can feel the bone, and you wanna go right along that bone. Going real light, right over the cheekbone, and you wanna get this color to move from right here all the way like to the corner of where your eyebrow will be. Same thing on the other side, just a little bit. I'm gonna brush that along your cheekbones, warm up the side of your face. I like to go a little bit above on the forehead. If you tend to have a bigger forehead, you wanna put a little of this along the hairline as well. I'm gonna go along the hairline a little bit here to make this have a more natural look. So a little bit, like really light, underneath the jawline as well. That'll help you have a more defined jawline. Be careful, because if you put too much, it'll make it look like you have a 5 o'clock shadow. So you just want to do a little bit on both sides, and you're running it from the edge of your jaw, like back towards your ear. And any excess you can just run down onto your neck. I'm gonna take a little bit lighter brush, like a light fluffy eyeshadow brush, and this is a Sephora crease brush. It doesn't have a number, but it's nice and fluffy but a little bit tapered at the top. Just take a little bit of the same product, the same bronzer, and run it down the side of your nose. So for this to look super natural, you only want to use a little bit of that bronzer, and this will just help thin out your nose. You're just doing a little bit. So you have the concealer that ran down the bridge of your nose, and that's gonna brighten and kind of push out the edge of your nose, and then a little bit of the bronzer to pull that part back so it looks like your nose is more narrow than it actually is. And then I like to put a little bit underneath as well to kind of make the end of the nose have the illusion of it being smaller and a little bit turned up at the edge there. The next thing we're gonna do is add a little bit of blush. So the blush that I've been obsessed with lately is by Makeup Forever. And this is just one of the singles from one of their trio kits that I created myself. And that color is S300. So I'm gonna take a tapered brush for this, and this is the Glamour Dolls tapered brush that you can use for bronzer or for blush. I'm a huge fan of this brush because, well, one, it's got rainbow unicorns on it, but also because it's tapered, so it kind of hugs the edge of your cheek. So with blush, it's the same thing with bronzer. You only want to use a little bit of a product, so you're just lightly tapping this onto the surface of your cheek, so it's sitting right on top of the cheekbone, like where you would normally blush. Same thing on the other side. Move on to the eyes, and to start that off, I'm going to curl my eyelashes. Now we're gonna add just a little bit of bronzer instead of an eyeshadow, so then it's just less products for you to use. So I'm gonna use that little tapered fluffy brush from Sephora and that Too Faced bronzer. And all you're gonna do is run it just in the crease. So it's just the fluffy brush that you're getting a little bit of color on your eyelids. Get a little bit of dimension there. Just a little bit of product. And if you'd rather skip this step because you're like, hey, you got rid of the redness on my eyelids and that's really all I was looking for, cool, skip this step, no big deal. Same thing on the other side. So this will give a little more depth to your eye and make it look like, oh yeah, I really tried, even though this only took you 2 seconds. Next, we're gonna move on to mascara, and my mascara of the moment right now is the Sephora Lashcraft Big Volume Mascara. So we're just gonna go ahead and put 1 or 2 coats of this on our lashes, and I like to start at the base of my eyelashes and roll up, almost like in a little a zigzag motion, so you can really get each one of those lash hairs coated with the product. I mean, look at the difference between my eyes right now. It's just 1 coat of mascara. I'll go ahead and do the other eye. Again, from the base all the way up to the tip of your eyelashes. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the bottom ones as well. And it's the same thing that you would do on the top. You're just starting at the root of the lash, making your way right out to the tip. Two more steps and you're out the door. So the next thing we're gonna work on is your brows. If you're like me and your brows are uneven and also need to be filled in, then this is the next step for you. So I'm gonna use this Pro Brow brush from Sephora. It's double-ended, so there's like a little tapered tip on the end here. It's kind of stiff bristles, and then a spoolie on the other end as well. So I'm gonna start off by brushing all the hairs upward on both sides. And then the brow product that I like to use, Brow Pomade by Anastasia Beverly Hills. So it just comes in this little pot. So the color that I'm using is soft brown. So it looks like this inside the hot. I don't know if you can really. So I've barely used this and I've had this for a couple months. Just get like right along the edge, like barely any product, barely. And you're gonna start with the bottom of the brow and just little light strokes. You're gonna brush this around along the bottom of your eyebrow and out towards the edge. So just use a little tiny bit at a time and start to build up your eyebrow. You can pull out the tail of your brow a little bit. Same thing on the other side. Right underneath the arch. And same thing, just go along the top of your brow or where you would like your brow to be. And you're using barely any product. And then with the residual product that you have on your brush, you're gonna brush it through the rest of your brow. Because I wanna use just barely any so that it's lighter and it looks more natural with little hair-like strokes in the front of your brow. Little tiny strokes to fill that in. And there you go. So the brush that I like to use for highlighter is the Pro Fan 65 by Sephora. It's just got really soft fan-like bristles on the end there. So the highlighters that I normally grab are from the Luminizing palette by Sephora. There's a whole bunch of different colors in here that sometimes I mix together, sometimes I just use them individually. So for today, I'm gonna go for this light gold color down here. So I'm just gonna dust that fan brush into the edge of that and then lightly run it along my cheekbone. I mean, there's like barely anything on there and it's like, oh. So I like to take a little bit along the cheekbone and then up right above the eyebrow. Just a little bit. I mean, like if you want to glow to space, you go. Same thing on the right, just right on top of the bone, like, look at that. Right on top of the bone, a little bit around and then right above the eyebrow. A little bit of highlight there, a little bit on the end of your nose, maybe a little bit up the bridge of your nose as well, on the Cupid's bow. And some people like to do a little highlighter on the chin as well. And final step, setting spray. So you put your moisturizer and your primer underneath your makeup and that holds everything to your face, and then you go in with a setting spray and that's gonna set your makeup and make everything kind of melt together and look really natural and dewy and glowy and beautiful. So my favorite setting spray that I like to use is Urban Decay De-Slick. So you're gonna give it a good shake, pop off the caps, and then hold it like a little distance away from your face and just make sure that you get a nice light coat on your whole face. Perfect. So that's gonna hold your makeup in place and make it last way longer throughout the day and keep it from sliding and moving around, so it gives you that nice glowy natural look. My favorite chapstick of all time, hands down, Burt's Bees Beeswax Lip Balm. Just like the classic peppermint one, it's my absolute favorite. And that's it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed this basic everyday makeup look. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. If you've got anything that you want me to experiment with and do a tutorial on, or if there's a specific look that you're looking for, go ahead and leave that in the comments as well. And we'll see what comes up in the future. Until then, I'll see you next time. So I've got super oily skin. Is the Smash. So since I've got super oily skin, I'm a really big fan of the Smash. I cannot say Smashbox to save my life. Someone just needs a little attention, that's all. That's okay, you just need a little attention sometimes, huh? So with any of the residual, I'm going to start talking and not know what I'm saying. You just really want to be involved, huh? Want to be involved in the videoing process. Is that too much to ask? So after my moisturizer is